Welcome to our review on the Chapter 2 study guide, pages 35 through 53 with Mrs. Parker. I apologize that the document camera isn't really clear, but since you should have a copy of this also, hopefully you can follow along with me. Okay, so question number 1 says, name the 3 subatomic particles that make up an atom. So if you didn't know where to look, you don't have your notes with you or whatever, then this even tells you it's pages 35 through 53 in the textbook. So if you turn to page 35, you can see here discusses atoms and what is an atom, okay? And the key concept right here is the subatomic particles that make up atoms are protons, neutrons, and electrons. So that should be your first answer. Protons, neutrons, and electrons. Okay, now since this is such an important concept, you need to make sure that you also know everything about these protons, neutrons, and electrons. So if you look in your textbook, it goes into more detail about which ones are in the nucleus, which where the electrons are located, and there's even a little image down here, kind of hard to see on the camera, that gives you an example of a helium atom. So the next question is, indicate the charge of each of the 3 subatomic particles has. So we know protons are positive, neutrons are neutral, and electrons are, negative, okay? Okay, so for the next question, it asks, where are they located, okay? So if we look at our textbook towards the bottom, we can see it explains what the nucleus is, okay? It says the nucleus just is at the center of the atom. And what's in the nucleus? It binds the protons and neutrons together. So we know for our first one that the protons and neutrons are in the nucleus, and the electrons float around the nucleus in clouds. Okay, now if you hadn't read the book yet, assignment, the 2-1 reading guide on page 4 of your Ian also covered this information. Okay, so if you need to review it, that's an excellent resource for you. Number 2, what are the main 2 types of chemical bonds? So it says look at page 38. So we'll flip the page over to page 38, and we can see here chemical bonds, okay? And here's our key concept. The main types of chemical bonds are ionic and covalent. So we know that this answer is ionic and covalent. Okay? Describe the difference between ionic and covalent bonds in relationship to what occurs with the electrons when different atoms are involved in the bonding. So let's answer B and C first. I actually think that's easier. So how does a covalent bond form? So we can scroll down to here. We can see at the very bottom it says a covalent bond forms when electrons are shared between atoms. So when electrons are shared between atoms. Okay, when electrons are shared between atoms, and our next question is, what is an ionic bond, or how does it form? And it says an ionic bond is formed when one or more electrons are transferred from one atom to another. So we know this is one or more electrons are transferred. from one atom to, here you go, to another. So it's a complete transfer of the electrons, and a covalent bond is sharing. So what is, this is, describe the difference between ionic and covalent bonds in relation to what occurs with the electrons, okay? So bonding occurs, just go like this for you. Bonding occurs with electrons either shared in covalent or transferred like in ionic. Okay, so the next one asks, what is the most abundant compound found in most living things? And define a compound. So we can kind of search over here, not really seeing it in this part of the textbook. We have properties of water. So let's see if it says anything. Water is one of the few compounds. Let's see. Oh, right here. It says water is also the single most abundant compound in most living things. So there's our answer right there. Water. Water is our most abundant compound. Okay. And it asks for, what is a compound? So let's see, do we have the word compound in here? I'm not seeing it. So if you don't know where it is, then you should go back to your definitions that we did in the very beginning of this unit. They should be on pages 2 and 3 of your EN. And we said that a compound is two or more elements bonded in a specific ratio. Okay? For example, water is always H2O. Okay? It has 2 H's and 1 O, and that's the specific ratio that water is always in. Number 4. Explain the pH scale. Be sure to mention the following terms in your response: acid, base, neutral, 0, 14, and 7. It says this is on page 43. So we can look in our textbook on page 43. So here's acids, bases, and pHs at the bottom. Okay, and then it talks about the pH scale right here. And so let's read what that says. It says, chemists devised a measurement system called the pH scale to indicate the concentration of hydrogen ions in a solution. The pH scale ranges from 0 to 14. At a pH of 7, the concentrations of H plus ions and OH ions is equal. Pure water has a pH of 7, and solutions with a pH below 7 are called acidic because they have more hydrogen ions than hydroxide ions. The lower the pH, the greater the acidity of the solution. Solutions with a pH of above 7 are called basic because they have more hydroxide or OH ions than H ions. Okay, and then we see a picture of it right here. So we say 0 at the, oh, I'm sorry, you can't see that. Let's try this again. You see 14 at the top and 0 at the bottom. 7 is neutral. So we can say, how can we phrase this for our notes? Okay, here, let me do this. So pH is a scale that measures the amount of H plus ions. 0 equals acid, 7 equals neutral, and 14 equals base. And that's all you really need to know about that. Okay? Fill in the table below. So give us an example of an acid and then what its pH would be. So we can look at this little diagram right here, Here's one, lemon juice. It looks like it's at about a 2.5, so we can put that down. Our example being from the textbook, lemon juice is 2.5. How about a base? Let's look at our here, where the base is. How about oven cleaner? That sounds really exciting. Oven cleaner is about 13.5. So we can say oven cleaner. And that is 13.5. And last but not least, we need a neutral. So we can say pure water is neutral. So let's say H2O. And it has a pH of 7. Okay? So, number 6 asks, what 7 elements are vital to living organisms? Hint, CHNOPS. List their actual names below. Okay? So, as we've talked about the macromolecules, they all contain these 7 elements. Okay? So, they are carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus. You can't even see what I'm writing, can you? I'm sorry. Carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, and sulfur. And these is what make up CHNOPS. And if you notice, you go back to, take a moment now, go back to the pink Amoeba Sisters worksheet on page 5 of your EN and look at what elements are in each macro molecule. And you will see, if you go back and actually look at this, that carbohydrates, for example, are carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Amino acids have carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen, okay? So take a minute, look at your pink sheet, go back, see why all of these are used and for what macromolecules, and you'll have a really good idea as to why these are the 7 most important or most vital elements to life. So with that, that'll conclude our study guide page 1 video. Check out the next video for answers 7 through 9, and then there will be one more for the backside. Okay? Don't forget, the test is on 9/11, and your notebook check will also be due. All right, thank you.